Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another video on gaming on Linux. Today, I just wanted to introduce folks to Ubuntu Linux and how we can set it up and configure it for gaming. Now, in order to do this, I find the best way is to use one of the Ubuntu versions or spins that are available. That's called Ubuntu. Now, the reason I recommend this version of Ubuntu is that it makes it very simple to get up and going using the KDE Plasma desktop, which in my opinion right now has the best support for gaming on Linux. So by using Ubuntu, it's going to help us start with a very slimmed down, more desktop oriented version of Ubuntu instead of using the stock Ubuntu, which I find it's more geared towards enterprise environments and workstations. So first thing is, well, how do you get Ubuntu? Well, if you head over to kubuntu.org and you go to their downloads page, which I have up on the screen now, you'll see there's a release there that was just put out probably about less than a month ago. And the most current release is Kubuntu 25.10. And that's going to give us KDE Plasma 6.4 and a more up-to-date kernel than, say, if you're using the long-term support release. So go over there, grab the ISO, use whichever ISO writing tool you're familiar with and get that ISO burnt onto a USB drive. And once you have it on there, boot your system. And then you can follow along with the guide that I provided. That's if you check the comments or description, there's a link to the guide that we're going to go through here in the video. So with that out of the way, we'll just get into the install and get things set up. So once you've booted your system using the USB drive, you're going to get this grub loader screen, and that's going to get us going with the Kubuntu installer. So you just say try or install Kubuntu, hit enter, and it'll boot your computer. And then we'll have two options here to try or install. So here we're going to use the installer option. We're just going to say next, select your time zone, select your keyboard. And here, because we're doing a gaming oriented install, we want to start with the minimal installation. So this is going to give us a real nice small footprint. And also it's going to prevent the snaps and snap daemon from being installed, which comes with your stock Ubuntu. And in my opinion, since we're focused on gaming, we're going to be leaning more on system packages and Flatpaks. Whereas in my opinion, snaps are more geared towards enterprise solutions. We're going to try and remove that and keep it from getting in the way of our optimizations. So select the minimal install and then check the box to say download and install updates following installation. And then hit next. And here I'm just showing you on this install, I'm running this installer in a VM So I'm just going to erase the disk and install Ubuntu from a clean slate. So here, just enter your username, name of your computer, your password, and then just select login automatically without asking for password. And we just confirm, yes, we're going to erase that whole drive, and then we're going to start the installer. So nothing really exciting here. It's just your standard Kubuntu installer. So I'm just going to fast forward. There we go. We're all done. And we'll ask us to remove the USB drive and reboot. And once it reboots, you should be into the desktop. Okay, so first things first. With Kubuntu, since we've done a minimal install, there are no web browsers available or installed. And in order for you to follow along the guide, you're going to need some web browser to get you going here. So what I'm going to do is we're going to use Google Chrome and install that from the command line. And then we're going to use Google Chrome to open the install guide. So you might have to copy this down or have another computer, but just open the terminal. And we're going to do a wget for the Google Chrome Debian package. So dl.google.com/linux/direct/ and then Google Chrome stable current AMD 64.deb. I know it's long and it's annoying to type, but once we have this installed and going, things get easier. But where we're using this minimal install, it's going to save us from having to declutter and debloat the standard, what you would get with a standard Ubuntu install. Okay, so now we have Chrome installed. Oh, sorry, we have Chrome downloaded. We're gonna do an install of it. So you do sudo apt install and then // and then the name of the Google package. Just put in your password. Off it goes. As soon as that's installed, you'll see the Google shortcut appear on the taskbar. And now we can open Chrome. So here, just select the classic encrypted file, and you can just leave the passwords empty there for the KDE wallet. And we'll just hit OK. And we'll just skip ahead there, because our goal here is to get to the setup guide that I've provided for this video. So to get there, you'll have to go to my GitHub page. So I type in https://github.com/nulls NULLS0x0 and just hit enter. And then here you're going to see my repositories. So we just click that and then just select the Ubuntu setup. And here is where we have the setup guide. So you just open the guide and there you go. All nice and formatted. And so now you can start copying, pasting the commands from here into the console window. You can see step 1 we've already done. We've got Google Chrome. So the next step is we need to get our video drivers installed and updated. Now, in the guide you're going to find I've outline steps for folks that have, say, an AMD GPU. And there's steps here for folks that have an Nvidia GPU. Now, with this setup, I'm going to be going through the steps for an AMD GPU. So the overall guide is the same regardless if you're using Nvidia or AMD, except for the driver installer part. But the instructions are there, pretty clear, I think, for the Nvidia folks. And you should be able to just copy and paste and just follow the steps there. But for the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go through the AMD user experience. And so hopefully, I have faith in you folks. You'll be able to handle this if you have an Nvidia GPU. Okay, so first things first. Now, I did make a mistake when I was doing this. And I do end up skipping a step. That's vital for Nvidia users. But if you see there right at the beginning, the first thing we're going to do is set up the 32-bit library support. You need this regardless if you're an AMD or Nvidia user. And then I skip over installing kernel headers and build tools. You definitely need that. Run that command. So sudo apt install Linux headers, build essentials, and dkms. You definitely need to run that if you're an Nvidia user. So if you have a Nvidia graphics card, you must do this, or your Nvidia drivers will not install properly. But if you're an AMD user, you don't need to run that command. And if you do, it doesn't matter. All it's doing is installing build tools and some extra headers that only the Nvidia driver needs when it's doing its install. Okay, so forgive me for omitting that step, but please run that if you're an Nvidia user. So for us, since we're using AMD, and the way the AMD GPU driver is set up, it has two parts to it. So for AMD graphics cards, there's the driver that's in the kernel, what they call a kernel mode driver. And then there's part of the drivers that live outside of the kernel in what they call a user space. And so the user mode or user driver. And so the user drivers is what we want to be getting the latest and greatest of for AMD. And this is provided by the Mesa 3D packages. And so we're going to be using a PPA repository that provides the latest builds of the Mesa libraries. So we can be keeping up to date with the latest and greatest. Whereas the Mesa drivers that come with this version of Ubuntu is probably going to lag behind a little bit behind this PPA repository. So all we have to do is just copy and paste that. Hit enter. And I'll just go ahead and grab that PPA and install the latest Mesa driver. So you see there it has like the Vulkan driver, the video acceleration drivers, and so on. Not very big. And then we're going to skip over the Nvidia section. So Nvidia folks, you'll have to follow those. And now we're just going to get into optimizing the system. So the first thing is, because we want to avoid installing snaps, snap app based applications. We're going to use these steps to prevent snaps from being installed. Now, since we're using the Kubuntu minimal install, there are no snaps installed out of the box. So it makes this process of sort of debloating Ubuntu much simpler. All we have to do is prevent any snaps from being installed automatically. So to do that, we're just going to copy paste this configuration, which just tells the repo manager to say, do not install snaps. Okay, that's it. And then the next part here we're going to do is install the NTSYNC kernel module. So this is you can think of this as a driver that was built for the Linux kernel that helps the Proton and Wine handle specific Windows calls more efficiently. So this can have a real benefit to certain games that lean on the sort of Windows NT kernel synchronization primitives that are available on Windows side, but doesn't exist on the Linux side. And this would cause a lot of overhead when you were trying to run some Windows games. So this kernel module was published a while ago and it's made available. But in order for it to be used, you have to, it's not available out of the box with Ubuntu. So we have to set it up so that this driver will be loaded when our system boots, and we're going to just load it immediately here. So you just copy paste those commands, and we're just verifying that that module is now loaded. There you go, NTSYNC. And now we're going to, because we have the minimal install, we want to provide make sure we have all the latest non-free video codecs so that we can, if you're watching YouTube or Netflix, or if you have downloaded a movie or something, you'll need these codecs in order to watch those video files. So we use this package, the Ubuntu Restricted Extras. And also it pulls in the core Microsoft Windows fonts, which will make your life a little, it's not really necessary these days, but can help in certain situations. So here we're just verifying with the VA info application that we have now installed all the video codecs so we can have hardware accelerated video decoding for all the different types of video out there. Okay. And then once we've done this, we're going to do a quick reboot. So we do that, you can just type sudo reboot, or go to the menu there and select reboot. Okay, now we're back. We've rebooted. So just open up the guide again in Chrome and go back to where we were. Scroll down a bit here. Get the console open again. There's still a few more commands to run here, or we're finished. Let's see if I can get down. We remove the snaps and enable the NTSYNC driver. Install the non-free video codecs. Okay, so now we're going to set up Flatpak. So this is going to give us access to some nice applications that are more up to date than what comes from Ubuntu. So we're going to set up Flatpak and FlatHub. So just run those commands, enter your password. All right, cool. So now if you open up the software manager, you should be able to access those. Okay, so the next important thing here is we want to enable hardware video accelerated or hardware video acceleration for video decoding and encoding within Chrome. So what this does, Chrome out of the box, when it's playing video, will decode the video using your CPU, which works, but is not very performant or efficient, and it's going to chew up your CPU cycles when you have a nice, powerful GPU that can decode video without even blinking. So in order to enable this hardware accelerated video decoding, we need to set up some a little config here for Chrome when it launches to tell it, hey, please use our hardware video decoding for playing video. So you'll see in this section I've listed commands that have to be passed based on the type of GPU you have. So if you have an Intel GPU, you're going to want to use those flags. For AMD, use those, Nvidia, and so on. So for us, here I'm running a 9070 XT. We're going to use the AMD flags to enable hardware accelerated video decoding. And so there's a couple steps we have to do. First thing is we're going to have to copy over and set up the Google Chrome shortcut so we can customize it and add these flags. So you're going to copy that Google Chrome.desktop file to our local home folder so that our options will automatically be picked up by Google Chrome. So I'm just going to open this in an editor so you can see what it is we're editing. So that was a big long file, but you'll see these lines that has exec equals and then the Google Chrome executable. So here, that's where we need to add these command line flags to tell Google to enable the video hardware accelerated decoding. And so you could do this manually, or if you look at the section there, I've created a little script there that's going to do the search and replace and add it for you automatically. So it's your choice. You can do it manually, like I said, just using the appropriate commands based on your GPU, or just copy paste and edit the little script I have there, those 4 lines. All they're doing is search and replacing. So I'm going to use my little script instead of doing this manually, because that line needs to be edited in multiple places in that file. So copy, paste, boom, enter, done. So now if you look at the file again, I'll show you. It will have, now you can see where it says exec equals, it's added in those flags for the AMD GPU. So it should be good to go. The next time you launch Chrome, it will enable those features. The next, we want to install Steam. Pretty straightforward. Sudo apt install steam installer -y. And just, does a download. And it gets the Steam runtime up and running for us. Doesn't take very long. Let's speed this up a little. There we go. And now once you have it installed, we can now launch Steam. And it's going to continue to do some setup and installing the first time you launch it. And then we should shortly be presented with our login screen. So I'm just going to log in off screen. And here we are. And now we can just exit Steam because we're going to come back and continue setting it up later. First, I want to do some install. So now that we have the Flatpak installed, we can now install Flatpaks through the Discover app. So the first thing we want to do is install the Proton Up Qt so we can get some more up-to-date versions of Proton to help support our games. We use the Proton Up Qt Flatpak. And you just say install. And it doesn't take very long. I have a few other things there to install using the Flatpak. So you like playing Minecraft, the Prism, Minecraft Prism launcher is a great for folks that like using or playing the Java version of Minecraft. And it makes it really easy to launch Minecraft and deal with the third-party mods. Very powerful and easy to use, so I definitely recommend that. And then if you have someone, if you like playing Roblox, very popular, use the Sober Flatpak, so that solves getting Roblox up and running. It's doing a few tricks under the hood to make it work on Linux. This is not really officially supported by the Roblox folks, but it works, and it works quite well. And then if you want OBS Studio, I recommend using the Flatpak version of OBS. I'm not going to do that install here because I already have it installed in order to do this recording. But use the Flatpak version. It's the best one. Okay, so next, I was going to set up Proton, download the latest version of Proton, the glorious aggro Proton, but I couldn't find the launcher, even though we've installed it. What I have to do is go back into the Discover app, and I launch it from here. I think once you log out and log back in, the app will appear in the menu. For some reason, it just didn't get updated when we installed it. So what we're going to do is download the glorious aggro Proton. So this provides us better compatibility and some tweaks for the desktop versions of Linux and Proton. Going to give us, so once we get that installed, we can go back into Steam, and we're going to enable that Proton version we've just installed. So we go into our settings. And down to, oh yeah, downloads. Make sure you disable the shader pre-caching, because you don't need it for Linux, and it can cause headaches, because with the stock version of Proton that comes with Steam, and because of licensing issues, the stock version of Proton from Valve cannot play videos that have specific video codecs that require licenses. So the way they got around this is I think they re-encode them or something, and then it gets downloaded when you play the game using the shader cache. But since we're using the glorious aggro Proton version, it can handle those proprietary codecs. So just disable the shader cache and everything will be fine. Okay, And then, so here I'm just bumping up the text here to make it be easier to read. So now if we go to our compatibility and we go to select our Proton version, you'll see now we have the Glorious Egg Roll Proton 10.25 available. So we want to select that as our default Proton version. So as newer versions of Glorious Egg Roll Proton become available, you'll go back, just check the Proton Up Qt app, say once a week or every 2 weeks, and there'll be a new version put out. So when there's a new version put out, use the Proton Up Qt app to download the newest version, and then go back into your Steam settings like we're doing here, select that newer version you've installed. So you can stay up to date. Sort of think of it like downloading like your updated video drivers in a sense. And I know the Glorious Egg Roll folks, they do publish new versions quite frequently. Okay. And then for in-game statistics, so like frames per second, CPU usage, GPU usage, they've introduced this performance overlay now that's really great for troubleshooting and seeing how your system's performing. They just go in here and say show performance monitor, select the location, and then now you can select to show what level of detail you want displayed when you're in game. So for this video, I'm going to select the full details. And that's about it. So when you launch a game in Steam, it's going to automatically have that performance overlay. Okay. Next steps, we want to do a few tweaks here for the KDE desktop. So we're going to go into the settings. And first we want to make sure our display is set up to be running at the highest refresh rate available. So select your main gaming monitor or whatever. And you want to make sure your refresh rate is at the highest available refresh rate that's there. And for me, mine was already running at the highest available. Sometimes it's when the installer finishes is running at 60 hertz. So just it's good to check. Make sure you're running as fast as it can. And now they enable adaptive sync or G-Sync or FreeSync, right? To enable this, we're going to use the adaptive sync dropdown, and there's a couple of options there. So if you look in the guide there, I've provided descriptions for what the different options do. So like automatic, never automatic, or always. So the safe setting to go with is automatic. So it's going to enable G-Sync or FreeSync on your GPU when there's a full screen game being displayed. But if you select always, it's going to enable variable refresh rates for your whole desktop, which can have weird side effects. So try the automatic. If it's not working properly, try the always. But I don't think you're going to want always on selected if you're just using your desktop day to day. But yeah, so just try automatic, try the different options, see what works for you. If you select never, it's just going to run with no adaptive sync, no variable refresh rate. So if you don't have a variable refresh rate monitor, you can just leave it on never. And just hit apply. And a nice thing with KDE Plasma 6, where we're using Wayland, you won't have any issues if you have multiple monitors on at the same time, where one supports G-Sync or FreeSync and your other one doesn't. your gaming monitor will work. So, which is great. So one of the pluses of using Wayland versus the Xort. And then we want to make sure that we're enabling screen tearing for our full screen windows, right? So this is we want to make sure, you know, that VSync is disabled when we're in our games, so we don't get input lag. Okay. So yeah, just reviewing the different options and what they mean. And next we're going to go into the KDE configuration. We want to disable mouse acceleration. So this is just, you know, for those of you folks out there and playing first-person shooters, and you want to have a good, you don't want your aim getting messed up because of mouse acceleration, you just go to the mouse config panel here and select your mouse. So here I have a BenQ Zowie mouse. So select whatever mouse you're using. And then all you want to do is unselect enable pointer acceleration, and then you can tweak your pointer speed to whatever you have. So now you should have a nice flat acceleration for your pointer. And then we want to enable, since we're on a desktop, we want to set our CPU power profile to performance so it can run at a higher clock speeds. But this is going to use more power, so you'll use this on a desktop versus if you were on a laptop. You just go down here to power management and just move the slider all the way to the right to performance. Now, next step here is we want to install Gamemode. So Gamemode is just a utility that's going to boost our CPU and GPU clocks when we're running games. And so you use it on a per game basis. So first things first, we got to install the Gamemode utility. Just copy paste the command here. There you go. So let's use that. And then once we have it installed, you can now use it within in your games. So in order to use it within the games, you just have to add a launch option to your game in Steam. So I'm going to do an example here. I'm going to install Deep Rock Galactic, and then I'm going to add the Gamemode run option to Deep Rock Galactic. So all it does is tells the kernel to optimize your game to run as fast as they can within the Linux, on the Linux operating system. So I'm just going to get Deep Rock Galactic installed here. I'm going to skip through to download. Okay, so here, let me back up a bit. So you're going to go, if you go right, go back to, we'll go to our library, right click the game and select properties, and then go to our launch options, and you're just going to type in Gamemode run space % command %. So when your game launches, Gamemode is going to be enabled. So here I'm just going to launch Deep Rock Galactic just to make sure everything's working okay. We're almost done. And because we enabled the performance overlay, you'll see in the top, we get all the nice statistics on our hardware and the performance. That's the game running, so our frames per second, CPU utilization, GPU utilization, and so on.
Work hard, party hard,
Very nice.
and then sleep hard.
Okay.
That's my motto.
Oh, looks like we have a Halloween theme going on here. So, go in here and I'm just going to check my graphics options. Make sure we're running full screen. Set my max FPS. So I have a 165 hertz monitor, so I'll just run it a few frames less than my max. Just cap it. You can see the different upscaling options. So since I'm running AMD, you're not going to see DLSS or any of those things. And I like to make my image sharp because we got anti-aliasing. I was going to crank everything up to ultra. And I don't like bloom, making everything blurry. And one thing, yeah, I think that resolution is much higher than what my monitor supports. Set your resolution to what your native resolution of your monitor. So in my case, it's 1440p. There we go, that's better. And we'll just go in here and run around, make sure everything's running smoothly. Oh, look at this. That's cool. We got pumpkins and ghosts for Halloween. That's neat. Nice to know this game is still being updated with some content. That's cool. Get a little bit of physics there. Lots of flying. Oh, look at this. Some bats and smoke. Pumpkins. That's cool. Wow. I mean, take those pumpkins around. Yeah, everything looks nice. Very cool.
Bartender, I need a round of oily oafs, ice cold and foamy.
There's the old...
Go, little man, go!
See if I can kick this. Oh, I missed.
Damn! That's unfortunate.
Yeah, got it.
Got it.
And some more ghosts. Yeah, looks cool. Everything's working smooth. I'm getting pretty solid 160 frames per second. GPU's running about 84%. Yeah, pretty smooth. No hitching, no tearing. All good. Awesome. That's it for that. So one last thing here, we're just gonna tweak our kernel swap parameters. Just gonna make the kernel be more greedy with the RAM so it doesn't swap things to disk unnecessarily. And I think that pretty much covers it. All right. Oh, right. One last thing. So I just want to validate that the hardware video acceleration is working within Chrome. So what I'm going to do here is go in and open a YouTube video, some 4K video, and then using the developer tools, we can inspect the video that's playing to make sure it's using the appropriate API that enables hardware acceleration. So we just play our, get a nice big, funky, detailed video going here. And if you look at the statistics, so it's using the, let me back that up. was using the VP9 Google codec for the video, which is these days they use, that's their Google standard video codec, that and AV1. And so to bring up the developer tools, you press F12. Okay. And if you go to those three little dots and more tools and then media, you can view the different media that's being currently rendered by Chrome. And the thing we're looking for is first you select, say, the video that's being played, and you want to see that the decoder name is VAAPI video decoder, right? So that stands for the Video Acceleration API. So that's a standard video accelerated API. You'll see that's supported by Intel and it's supported by AMD. And I believe someone created, there's a VAAPI driver for Nvidia as well. But the Nvidia support is not great. But if you follow the steps in the guide, like I showed you about adding those flags to Chrome, and you have all the codecs installed and the latest Intel or AMD drivers, you should be getting hardware accelerated video decoding, encoding in Chrome, which is great because that's gonna, if you're watching video, whether it's Netflix, Disney Plus, or YouTube, it's gonna take the load off of your CPU and put the load on your GPU. And your GPU has hardware that's dedicated for rendering video. So it's going to make your computer quieter and cooler and smoother. And you get all the benefits of Google Chrome and being able to access all those streaming services. So we're good here. Everything looks smooth. Getting a nice 4K video playback. It's all buttery smooth. The CPU sometimes can struggle to render this stuff if you're doing really high res stuff. So we're good. All right. I think that's it for the guide and the install. And I guess I'll just remind everyone that the guide will be available. Link to the guide will be available in the comments and the description. If you have any, I hope you found the video useful. Like and subscribe if you did, and also if you have any other ideas for videos, any other things you like covered in detail, leave a comment. Maybe I'll try and get around to it sometime. Or if you have any general questions regarding Linux and gaming, throw it in the comments, or check some of the other videos I've posted. I've gotten a few questions over the last few months, and I've usually try and give solid answers there. And you'll find, regardless of which distribution you use, especially if you're trying to game, you're going to have this similar problems or challenges, regardless if you're using Linux Mint or Ubuntu or Debian or CachyOS. At the end of the day, it's all just Linux. So anyway, best of luck with your gaming and getting things going, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.